On a storm-soaked night, when the city felt more like a battlefield than a home, a single mother named Elena Reyes pushed through the cold with nothing but a feverish child in her arms and desperation in her heart. She wasn't looking for danger. She wasn't looking for trouble. She only wanted shelter, somewhere warm, somewhere safe, somewhere to breathe. But fate has a strange way of placing people exactly where their lives are meant to break, or begin. Because that night, Elena stepped into a small diner, just a flickering neon sign in the darkness, and unknowingly walked straight into the shadow of the most dangerous man in the city. Damien Vale. A man whispered about in back alleys. A man feared in boardrooms. A man who could end lives with a nod. Or save them with a single decision. Every seat in that diner was taken, except one. One seat. At one table. Across from one man whose presence silenced the entire room. He looked up once. Just once. And in that moment, the storm outside wasn't the only thing changing. Because once Elena sat at his table, the course of her life twisted into something darker, deeper, and more dangerous than she ever imagined. She didn't know his name. She didn't know his world. She didn't know that he'd already noticed her. Already chosen her. Already decided she wasn't leaving his life after that night. This is a story about a woman who walked into fate by accident. A man who saw something worth protecting. And a child who would become the spark of a war. A story where love meets danger. Where survival meets obsession. Where a single sit down becomes a promise. And a warning. Tonight, we begin the journey of Elena and Damien. The night she took the wrong seat. And found the one man who would burn the world for her son. This is where everything starts. Before we jump into the story, drop your flag or country in the chat. Let's see who's representing tonight. The storm hit the city like a punishment. Rain slammed against the bus windows as if trying to break through, and the wind pushed so hard that Elena Reyes felt the whole vehicle sway. She held her son, Luca, tight against her chest as the bus shuddered to a stop in front of a blinking red light. Luca's forehead was hot. Too hot. "Mama, my head hurts," he whispered, voice small and tired. "I know, baby," she murmured, brushing wet curls from his face. "We're almost home." That was a lie. The bus had already changed its route twice because of flooding, and she knew their walk from the last stop would be long, dark, and dangerous. But then, she spotted it. A neon sign flickering through the downpour. Haven Diner. Open 24 hours. She didn't think twice. As soon as the bus jerked to a stop again, she grabbed Luca's hand and rushed out into the storm. Rain soaked them instantly, ice cold and heavy. Luca coughed, and the sound sliced straight through her chest. "Come on. Just a little more," she urged, pushing the diner door open. A warm bell chimed. Heat. Light. The smell of coffee and frying onions. For a moment, she almost cried from relief. But then she felt it. The way the entire diner paused. People didn't stop eating, but their eyes shifted. Quick glances. Nervous flicks toward a corner booth. That was when Elena noticed him. A man sat alone, newspaper in hand, coffee untouched. He didn't look up. Didn't speak. Didn't move. But somehow his presence filled every inch of the room. Tall, even while seated. Shoulders broad. Dark coat unbuttoned just enough to reveal a hint of a fitted shirt beneath. His hair was black, swept back neatly, not a single strand out of place, as if the storm outside didn't dare to touch him. A man who looked like the world listened when he spoke. Elena tried to ignore him. She really did. She scanned for an empty table, just one. But every booth, every stool, every tiny seat at the counter, all taken. Except one. The booth across from him. Right in his line of sight. Of course. Luca tugged at her sleeve. "Mama, I'm cold." Her heart clenched. She couldn't stand here forever. She couldn't wait outside in the storm. She didn't have options. So she walked toward the empty booth. She didn't even get halfway there before the man spoke. His voice was smooth, low, and held a certain gravity, like he was used to people stopping when he talked. "Sit." Elena froze. Not because he was rude, but because the way he said it felt impossible to disobey. A quiet command, not loud, not aggressive, but absolute. The kind of tone that slid beneath your skin and made your heart skip without permission. She swallowed. Excuse me? He slowly lowered the newspaper, revealing a pair of sharp, unsettlingly focused eyes. Grey, almost silver, with a darkness beneath that suggested he'd seen too much and survived more. I said, he repeated softly, sit. Elena forced her voice to steady. There are other seats. We can wait. There are no other seats. He gestured faintly toward the crowded diner. And your son is shivering. Her arms tightened protectively around Luca. We're fine. We don't need. You do, he said simply. Sit. Once you do, things change. That's not a threat. It's truth. She didn't understand what he meant. She didn't care. Luca needed warmth. She could swallow her pride for her boy. So she sat carefully, slowly, eyes on Luca as she slid him into the seat across from her. The man lifted one finger. Instantly, so fast it startled her, a waiter rushed over. Yes, Mr. Vale. The name meant nothing to Elena. But the waiter's nervous posture said enough. Hot chocolate for the boy, the man, Mr. Vale, said. Extra marshmallows. And tomato soup. Not canned. Yes, sir. Right away. Elena blinked. We didn't order that. You wouldn't, he cut in. But he needs it. Elena bristled. You don't know my son. A ghost of amusement touched the corner of his mouth. I know when a child is dehydrated. When fever hits. And when a mother is at her limit. Heat rose to her cheeks. I'm not. You are, he said calmly. And there's no shame in it. She glared. You don't even know us. Don't I? His gaze drifted to her soggy jacket, then to her frayed jeans, then the exhaustion beneath her eyes she tried so hard to hide. You worked late, he murmured. Your hair smells like perfume from other people and cleaning chemicals from a place that doesn't appreciate you. You carried your boy through the rain because you can't afford a taxi or to stay home from work. And you boarded the wrong bus to avoid someone. How can you possibly? It's my job to notice things. A strange chill spread through her. Who are you? She asked quietly. He lifted his coffee at last and took a slow sip. Damien Vale. The waiter delivered Luca's hot chocolate and soup, practically sprinting back to counter afterward. Luca immediately grabbed the mug, hands trembling but excited. Thank you, Luca whispered to the man. Damien's gaze softened, barely. Of course, little man. But then he looked back at Elena, eyes turning unreadable again. You walked into my night by accident, he said softly. But I don't believe in accidents. Her heart thrummed. What does that mean? She whispered. It means, he said, leaning back with that same unnerving certainty. You won't be leaving my life after tonight. Elena didn't know how long they sat in silence. Maybe minutes, maybe longer. But Luca's color slowly returned, and as his small hands wrapped around the mug, Elena felt some warmth spread into her own chest. Once he finished the soup, he rested his head against her arm and dozed off. Damien Vale didn't speak. He didn't move. He only watched. Not in a threatening way. More like he was studying a puzzle he intended to solve. Finally, Elena cleared her throat softly. Thank you. For helping. You didn't have to. No, Damien agreed, I didn't. His eyes held hers. But I wanted to. Elena looked away quickly. We should go. The storm is probably getting worse. Damien glanced toward the window. Rain hammered the glass so hard it blurred the world outside. You're not walking in that, he said. We live close. He tilted his head slightly. No bus goes close to where you described to the driver. She froze. He noticed that. What exactly is your job again? She asked slowly. Damien smiled faintly. You wouldn't believe me if I told you. Try me. He didn't answer. Instead, he changed the subject. You're a photographer. Her heart lurched. How? Your bag, he said simply. Heavy. High-end lens sticking out. And the wrist bruise from holding a camera too long. She pulled her hand back. I do freelance work. And you're good at it. She blinked. How would you know that? You carry yourself like someone who sees the world in frames. Angles. Timing. You don't look directly at anything, you scan for what would make a good shot. Her throat tightened. He wasn't wrong. Why are you paying so much attention to me? She whispered. Damien didn't hesitate. Because I want to. Before she could respond, her phone vibrated. A text. From her landlord. Final notice. Must pay by Monday. She locked the screen quickly, but Damien had already seen the flicker of panic in her eyes. Money trouble, he asked quietly. I don't want to talk about that. Fine, he murmured. But I can solve it. Elena jerked her head up. What? No. Absolutely not. It's not charity. Everything from you feels like something with strings attached. Damien's smile was slow, almost amused. Smart woman. She shook her head. I don't know what you want from me, but I'm not for sale. My son isn't either. His expression shifted, not anger, not offense, but something sharper. Almost protective. I don't buy people, he said. I invest in them. Elena stood, adjusting Luca's weight against her shoulder. Well, I'm not an investment. You could be. No. Damien sighed softly and stood up. Even that movement felt intentional, controlled, powerful. He towered over her, but not in a way that felt threatening, just overshadowing, like he occupied more space than others. He reached into his coat and pulled out a small black card. When you're ready, he said, sliding it toward her, call me. She didn't take it. Instead, she tightened her hold on Luca. You really think I'm going to contact you after all this? Not think, Damien said. No. Her heartbeat thudded painfully. You're very confident. Confidence is only arrogance when it's wrong. He paused. And I'm not wrong. About what? You'll need me again. His gaze softened slightly. And I'll answer. Elena swallowed hard. Why me? Why us? Damien looked at Luca, asleep on her shoulder, then back at her. Because some things, he said quietly, just matter. She stared at him, unsure what to say. He stepped closer, close enough that she could feel heat radiating off him. You walked into my night by accident, he repeated softly. But you left a mark. Her breath caught. I don't want anything from you, she whispered. His voice lowered. Everyone wants something, Elena. His use of her name sent a strange shiver through her. What do you want? She asked before she could stop herself. He held her gaze without blinking. Time, he said finally. With you. With him. His eyes dropped to Luca. Time to see what this could be. This, she echoed. He nodded once. This. She shook her head. You're a stranger. Not for long. Damien. Elena, he mirrored gently. She froze. He stepped back at last, giving her space. Go home. Get your boy warm. But remember what I said. She exhaled shakily. You think I'll call? You will, he said simply. Because I'm offering you a chance. Not chains. Her eyes narrowed. And what chance is that? A job. He paused. A photography job at my estate. Her stomach flipped. Estate? Yes. I don't do private shoots. And definitely not in mansions. Damien chuckled. You will for this one. How can you be so sure? Because I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse. Her heart skipped. He leaned slightly toward her. 3 hours of your time, for enough money to keep your home for months. Her breath hitched. That kind of money didn't exist in her world. That's insane, she whispered. For you, he said softly, maybe. For me, it's nothing. She hesitated. He extended the card again. This time, her hand trembled before she reached out and took it. Damien smiled, not predatory, not cruel, but certain. See, he murmured. You've already taken the first step. Elena clutched the card like it was burning her hand. Damien stepped aside, giving her a clear path to the door. Get him home safe, he said quietly. And Elena. She stopped but didn't turn around. Nothing in your life will be the same after tonight. A chill slid down her spine. She left the diner with Luca sleeping in her arms, rain hitting her face like cold needles. She didn't look back. But she felt his eyes on her the entire time. 3 days after the storm, Elena still hadn't decided if calling Damien Vale was a terrible idea or the worst idea she'd ever had. But the rent notice stuck to her fridge said everything for her. Luca needed food. He needed stability. He needed warmth. And Damien's card felt heavier in her pocket every hour that passed. Finally, late that afternoon, while Luca colored at the kitchen table, she sent a single text. "I can do the job." She expected him to reply in a few minutes. He replied in 30 seconds. 7 a.m. tomorrow. My driver will pick you up. Pack your equipment. No address. No details. Just authority. Her stomach flipped. Her hands trembled. But she responded, "Okay." The next morning, a black SUV arrived outside her apartment exactly at 6:59 a.m. The driver stepped out immediately. A tall man with broad shoulders and sharp eyes. "Ms. Reyes?" he asked. "Yes. I'm Marcus. Mr. Vale sent me." He opened the back door for them. "Please, get in. We're on schedule." Of course they were. The ride to Damien's estate was silent except for Luca's soft humming and the low purr of the engine. They left the city behind, trading crowded streets for quiet roads lined with old trees. Fog hung low, thick enough to blur the world into pale shapes. By the time the SUV turned down a private drive, Elena's chest felt tight. The estate appeared slowly, like something out of a dream or a warning. A mansion of dark stone. Tall windows with black frames. Carved pillars. Massive wooden doors. And security cameras everywhere. Elena swallowed. "This is huge." Marcus nodded. "Mr. Vale values safety." That was one word for it. "Why didn't he just send an address?" she asked. Marcus glanced at her in the mirror. "Mr. Vale prefers control." She didn't know how to respond. The SUV stopped. Marcus stepped out, walked around, and opened their door. "Welcome," he said. As soon as Elena stepped out, the front door opened from the inside. Damien walked out. He didn't smile. Didn't wave. Didn't greet her like someone he'd only met once. He moved with the calm, smooth confidence of someone stepping onto ground he owned completely. He wore a dark coat over a fitted shirt, sleeves pushed to his elbows. His hair was neat. His expression unreadable. When his eyes landed on her and then on Luca, something almost soft flickered behind the steel. "Elena," he said quietly. "You came." She cleared her throat. "For the photo job, yes. And the money." She didn't deny it. He stepped closer, stopping just a few inches away. "You don't need to pretend with me," he murmured. "I told you I would make the offer worth it." Luca peeked from behind her leg. Damien crouched down until he was eye level with him. "Good morning, Luca." "Hi," Luca mumbled, shy but curious. "Would you like breakfast?" Damien asked. Luca nodded fast. Damien stood and turned to his staff. "Bring him inside." Kitchen. A woman, elegant and warm-looking, stepped forward. "Come with me, sweetheart. We made pancakes." Luca looked to Elena for permission. She nodded carefully. The woman took his hand and led him into the house. Elena felt strange watching her son disappear inside a mansion guarded like a fortress. But Damien didn't give her time to hesitate. "Come," he said softly. "I'll show you the shoot location." Inside, the mansion was even more stunning. High ceilings. Wide hallways. Soft lights. Thick carpets. Paintings that probably cost more than her apartment building. Elena forced herself not to stare too much. Damien noticed anyway. "You're uncomfortable," he said. "No," she lied. "You are. That's normal." He glanced at her. "My world feels overwhelming to most people." She didn't respond. They walked through a sunlit corridor, windows stretching from ceiling to floor, overlooking sprawling gardens. Finally, he opened a pair of glass doors. "This is the room," he said. It looked like a dream. A sunroom with white marble floors, soft green plants, and light pouring in from all sides. Elena breathed out in awe. "This is perfect." Damien's voice softened. "I knew you'd like it." She set down her camera bag and began adjusting her gear. Damien watched her quietly. "You're very focused," he observed. "Work does that." He stepped closer. Too close. Close enough that she could smell his cologne, dark, clean, expensive. "And you're very careful," he added. "I have a child to protect." Damien nodded slowly. "I respect that." Elena's hands paused mid-adjustment. Respect wasn't a word she expected from a man like him. "So," she asked, "what am I photographing exactly?" "My mother's upcoming celebration," he said. "I want this room documented. Angles, lighting, space." She lifted her camera. "Understood." While she worked, Damien leaned against the wall, arms crossed, eyes on her. Not like a client watching a professional. More like a predator watching something that fascinated him. At one point she glanced up and caught his gaze. He didn't look away. "You work very well under pressure," he murmured. "Is this pressure? You tell me." Her heart thudded. She turned back to her camera. "I just want to do the job right." "You will," he said simply. "I already decided that." His certainty was unsettling. And strangely comforting. When she finished the first set of shots, she lowered her camera. "I think I have enough." "Good," Damien said. "Now let's check on Luca." Her chest tightened. "Yes." They walked back through the house until they reached a warm kitchen filled with the smell of pancakes and cinnamon. Luca was laughing. Laughing. Something he hadn't done in weeks. He sat beside the elegant woman from earlier, Damien's mother, she guessed, who looked at him with gentle adoration. Damien's eyes softened. "My mother likes him." Elena nodded slowly. "He likes her too." Then Damien looked at her, his voice deeper, softer. "He also likes you here." Elena swallowed. "It's beautiful. But it's not our world." "It could be." She turned sharply. "Don't start." His lips twitched. "Not today." He paused. Then, softer. "But soon." Before she could respond, he walked over to Luca. "You okay, little man?" he asked. Luca nodded, mouthful of pancake. "This house is huge." Damien chuckled. "I suppose it is." Then he looked at Elena again. "Stay for lunch," he said. "That's not part of the job. I'm inviting you." "I don't think." Elena. Just her name. Soft. Firm. Final. "Stay." And without waiting for her answer, he turned to Luca and said, "I want to show you the garden after." Luca beamed. Elena's heart sank. This was dangerous. This was magnetic. This was already pulling her in. And she didn't know how to stop it. The first sign something was wrong came that evening. Elena had returned home after the job, still trying to process the estate, the money Damien paid her, the way Luca had clung to his hand before they left. She cooked dinner, cleaned up, prepared Luca's school uniform, and tucked him into bed. Everything felt almost normal. Until her phone rang. Unknown number. Elena hesitated, then answered. "Hello." Static. A metallic click. Then a distorted voice. "Miss Reyes." Her breath froze. "Who is this?" The voice ignored the question. "We have your son." The world fell silent. For a moment she didn't breathe. Didn't think. Didn't move. What did you say?" she choked out. "You heard me." The voice was calm. Cold. "We have Luca." "No. No, he's in his bed." She rushed into his room. Empty. The blankets thrown aside. The window cracked open. Her heart stopped. Her knees almost buckled. "Luca," she screamed. "Luca." Nothing. Silence. "Where is he?" she cried into the phone. "Where is my son?" "You'll get instructions soon." The line went dead. Elena didn't remember grabbing her keys. Didn't remember running into the hallway. Didn't remember pounding on her neighbor's door. All she knew was, her son was gone. Her baby was gone. Her lungs couldn't pull in enough air. The world tilted. She pressed her hand against the wall to stay upright. Then, on pure instinct, she grabbed her phone again. And called the only person she believed could help. Damien answered after one ring. "Elena." His voice was calm, controlled. But she heard something beneath it. Danger. They took him, she sobbed. Luca's gone. Someone took him. I don't know what to. Stop, Damien said sharply. Where are you? Home. I'm coming. No, I don't know if. Elena, he cut in, voice hard as steel, I said I'm coming. The line went dead, but this time she didn't panic. Within 7 minutes, she heard footsteps thundering up her stairs. Then a pounding on the door. Elena. Open it. She unlocked it with shaking hands. Damien stepped inside like a storm. His coat moved behind him like a shadow. His jaw was clenched so tight she could see the muscle throbbing. The air around him felt electric. Violent. Alive. What happened? He asked. They said they had him, she whispered. They called. They said. Her voice cracked. Damien didn't waste a second. He took her by the shoulders, not roughly, but firmly, grounding her. Look at me. She did. We will get him back. You don't know that. I do, he said. Because he is under my protection. Tears streamed down her face. Why? Why would they take him? What do they want? Now Damien's eyes grew darker. Harder. This isn't about Luca, he said softly. This is about me. Elena's breath hitched. Your enemies. He nodded once. And they made a mistake, he said quietly, dangerously, touching what's mine. Her heart stuttered. What do we do? She asked. We hunt, Damien said. Now. He didn't panic. He didn't hesitate. He didn't call the police. Instead, he pulled out his phone and said one word. Gather. Within minutes, black SUVs, a fleet of them, lined the street. Men in tactical gear moved with silent efficiency. The entire building buzzed with energy she had never seen before. Damien took her hand. You're coming with me. They got into the lead SUV. She gripped the seat until her knuckles turned white. The SUV shot forward. Where are we going? She whispered. My war room, he said. We'll find him there. Her chest constricted. Damien. I can't lose him. Damien turned to her, voice low, deadly calm. You won't. I swear it. Why? She cried. Why do you care so much? He held her gaze. Because, he said, softer now, you walked into my life. And I don't let anyone take what walks into my life. Tears blurred her vision. The SUV sped through the night. Hang on, Elena, Damien whispered, eyes burning with lethal intent. We're bringing your son home. And she believed him. For the first time, she truly believed him. The SUV tore through the city like a bullet shot into the night. Elena held onto the door handle, chest heaving, heart pounding out of control. The streetlights streaked past in blurs, and every bump, every turn, hit her like a jolt of fear. Damien sat beside her, silent but radiating fury. Not loud fury. Not chaotic fury. Controlled. Focused. Deadly. A man preparing to destroy anyone between him and her son. They pulled off the highway, then down a narrow road leading toward an industrial part of the city. Tall fences. Locked warehouses. Silent streets. The SUV came to a stop outside a massive building with black-tinted windows and security cameras on every corner. Where are we? Elena whispered. My operations center. Damien opened his door. You'll be safe here. Safe. Her son was gone. She would never feel safe again until she held him. But she followed him because her legs wouldn't work without his voice guiding her. Inside, the building was nothing like she expected. No crates. No guns. No men playing cards in dark corners. Instead, bright lights, clean floors, screens lining the walls, maps, satellite images, encrypted lines of code. It looked like a military base mixed with a tech company. Efficient. Quiet. Dead serious. One of Damien's men rushed forward. Boss, everyone's assembled. Damien nodding sharply. Start the feed. Elena stood frozen as screens around her flickered to life. She saw maps of the city. Grids. Camera angles. License plate tracking. Heat signatures from drones. Her throat tightened. How do you have all this? Damien didn't look at her. My world is not small, Elena. A table lit up with a holographic projection of the city. Find the boy, Damien ordered. His men spread out instantly, typing, searching through traffic cameras, pulling satellite images of the last hour. Elena trembled. This is insane, this is too much. Damien turned toward her, voice gentler. Trust me. She swallowed hard. What if they hurt him? They won't, Damien said. How can you know? His jaw flexed. Because men who want to use a child don't harm him before making demands. Luca is leverage. Leverage is protected. Her stomach turned. Leverage. He's alive, Damien said firmly. And I will get him back. His certainty kept her from collapsing. Suddenly, one of his men called out. Boss, camera 417 just picked up something. A shaky, grainy video appeared on the center screen. Elena's heart stopped. A warehouse. A metal chair. A dim light swinging overhead. A child with hands tied behind his back. Luca, she screamed, rushing toward the screen. Damien grabbed her before she hit the monitors. Don't look too close, he warned. But she couldn't look away. Luca was crying. Red-eyed. Terrified. Calling for her. Mama. Mama. Her knees buckled. Damien pulled her against his chest to keep her from collapsing. It's pre-recorded, one of the men said. Not live. Location. Damien snapped. Working on it. There's a serial number on a crate behind him enhancing image now. Another man pointed to a figure entering the frame. A tall man in a black jacket and ski mask. He leaned close to Luca, gripping his chin. Damien's voice dropped to ice. Move in. Zoom on the left side of his jacket. The image sharpened. A symbol appeared, 3 red claws slashed across a circle. One of the men cursed. Razov clan. Elena's blood froze. Who is that? Damien's eyes were dead cold. Russian syndicate. They've wanted my docs for years. And they're using my son to get them, she whispered. Damien's hands tightened into fists. They touched the wrong child. Suddenly, the man on screen spoke. His voice echoed through the speakers. Vale. We have your new, little friend. Elena's stomach twisted. You have 1 hour, the voice continued. Give us control of the port. Or the boy dies. Luca screamed again on the recording, sobbing hard enough to choke. No. Don't hurt him, please, please. Elena covered her mouth, tears streaming uncontrollably. I can't listen, I can't. Damien held her tightly. It's a recording. He isn't there now. And they haven't touched him since. How do you know? She whispered through tears. Because these men operate like businessmen, Damien said. Cruel. Calculated. They want negotiation. They want leverage. They don't want chaos. Elena sobbed into his chest. He's just a child. I know, Damien said. And that's why this ends tonight. Suddenly, another voice in the room shouted. Boss, we found something. Damien's head snapped up. What? Pause the recording. Look at the guy behind the crates. The screen froze. In the background, half-shadowed, stood another figure. No mask. Just a turned face and the outline of a profile. The tech zoomed in. The room fell silent. Elena's breath stopped. Who is that? She whispered. The man in the shadows was someone Damien clearly recognized. His jaw tightened. His eyes filled with something between rage and disbelief. Marcus, standing nearby, whispered the name like a curse. Adrian. Elena looked between them. Your cousin. The one who greeted us at the estate. Damien didn't blink. Didn't move. He betrayed me, Damien said quietly. He helped them take your son. Why? Elena breathed. Damien's voice was low and sharp. Because power makes weak men greedy. And betrayal starts in the dark. Elena felt sick. So what happens now? Damien turned toward his team. Mobilize. Men sprang into motion. Track every warehouse Adrian has access to. Pull every Razov clan location. Get drones in the air. Damien looked at Elena. His eyes, cold steel, held a promise that made her shiver. "You asked how I know Luca will live," he said. She nodded weakly. Damien stepped toward her, voice a dark vow. "Because tonight, Elena, I will kill every man who touched him." Elena had never seen anyone prepare for war before. In minutes, Damien's men were armed and armored. Black vests, dark rifles, comms in their ears, drones launching from hidden platforms, cars roaring to life in perfect formation. It was terrifying. And it was hope. Elena remained glued to the central screen, hands shaking, heart racing. Behind her, Damien gave orders with a calm so sharp it could cut metal. "Squad A, breach from the north. Squad B, wait for my signal. Squad C, drones up top, no one moves without my word." "Boss," one of his men said, "should we call backup?" Damien's eyes hardened. "We are the backup." A tech shouted, "We found the warehouse." The map zoomed in. An old shipping facility on the west docks. Rusting metal. Abandoned crates. Empty roads. Elena's breath caught. "Luca, he's there." "Yes," Damien said. "And we're going now." The convoy moved like a shadow army. SUVs. Tactical vans. Silent motorcycles. Elena rode with Damien in the lead vehicle. She wanted to scream, to break down, to beg time to go faster, but her brain felt locked. Frozen. Stuck between terror and hope. Damien watched her hands trembling. "You're afraid," he said. "I'm losing my mind," she whispered. "Good." She shot him a glare. "Good." Damien leaned forward, voice cold and smooth. "Fear keeps you sharp. Fear means you care. Fear means Luca matters more than anything." Her voice cracked. "He does." Damien's jaw tightened. "Then use that fear to stay steady. Because when we find your son, he needs your face. Not your panic." Those words hit her like a shock of cold water. They grounded her. Just enough to breathe. The SUV screeched to a stop. The warehouse stood ahead, silent, dark, dangerous. Damien stepped out first. "Elena, stay behind me. Do not leave my sight." She nodded, hands shaking. His men surrounded them, forming a shield. Guns raised. Eyes sharp. Controlled breaths. Damien lifted his hand. "On my count, 3, 2, 1. Crash." The side door exploded inward, metal bending under the force of the breach. Shouts echoed. Boots thundered. "Move." Tango left. Clear. Gunshots cracked like fireworks muffled by darkness. Elena flinched each time, heart in her throat, but Damien's arm stayed firm around her, guiding her, protecting her. The warehouse was a maze of crates and shadows. Then, a scream. Small. Terrified. Her son's voice. "Mama." Elena broke. "Luca," she cried, sprinting forward. Damien cursed under his breath and ran after her. They turned a corner. And there he was. Luca. Tied to a chair. Tears streaking his face. Chest heaving. Two masked men stood beside him, startled by the breach. One lifted a knife. The other reached for a gun. Elena screamed. Damien didn't. He moved. Fast. Too fast to track. Too fast to understand. Gunshots echoed in a tight burst. Two bodies hit the floor. A knife clattered across the concrete. Damien was a dark blur between Elena and danger. Then silence. Elena stumbled toward her son, hands shaking uncontrollably. "Luca, baby, Luca." "Mama," he sobbed, and she dropped to her knees, pulling him into her arms. She cried into his hair, clutching him like she would never let go again. Damien crouched beside them. "He's okay." Elena looked up at him, tears running freely. "You saved him." Damien shook his head. "We saved him," he corrected. "Together." Luca's shaking slowed, his face buried in Elena's neck. "Did they hurt you?" she whispered. He shook his head quickly. "They were mean. I was scared. I wanted you. I'm here, baby. I'm here now." Damien cut Luca's ropes with a small knife, eyes scanning the shadows for more threats. Then, behind them, a door slammed. Damien snapped around, drawing his gun in one fluid motion. From the shadows stepped Adrian. Face pale. Eyes wide. Damien, wait. Damien pointed the gun at him without hesitation. You, he said, voice like poison, touched a child. I didn't, I never, I only. You betrayed me, Damien said. You helped them take a boy. My boy. Elena froze. She had never heard Damien say that before. Adrian backed up, shaking. It wasn't supposed to go this far. They promised no one would get hurt. Damien fires a shot. It hits the wall just inches from Adrian's head. You don't get to speak about promises, Damien roared. Luca cried out and Elena hugged him tightly. Adrian fell to his knees, hands up. Please, Damien, your mother, she wouldn't want. Damien's voice dropped to a terrifying whisper. You don't get to use her name. Adrian sobbed. Please, don't kill me. For a moment, Elena thought Damien would pull the trigger. But then, he lowered the gun. Barely. Exile, Damien growled. Leave this country by sunrise. If I ever see you again, if you ever come near my family again, I will bury you myself. Adrian scrambled to his feet and ran into the shadows. Damien watched him go, jaw clenched, chest rising with slow, deadly breaths. Then he turned toward Elena and Luca. Something softened in his eyes. Something he couldn't hide. Let's take him home, he said quietly. Elena nodded, hugging her child tighter. And as Damien walked beside them, guiding, protecting, guarding like a shadow of vengeance, Elena realized something terrifying and undeniable. This man was willing to burn the world to keep her son safe. And she didn't know what that made her feel. Fear. Relief. Gratitude. Something more dangerous. But she held Luca close and followed Damien out of the warehouse. Because tonight proved one thing. Once you enter Damien Vale's life, you don't walk back out. The convoy arrived at Damien's estate long before sunrise. The sky was still black, heavy with leftover storm clouds, but the air buzzed with the electricity of everything that had happened. Elena didn't remember walking inside. Didn't remember climbing the steps. Didn't remember the guards holding the doors open. She remembered only one thing. Luca asleep in her arms. Safe. Warm. Breathing. Inside the entrance hall, Damien stopped and turned to her. You should rest, he said softly. Both of you. His voice was low, calmer now, but still sharp around the edges, like he was fighting the adrenaline still coursing through him. Elena nodded slowly. Where? My mother's guest suite. He motioned to one of his men. Prepare it. But Serafina Vale, Damien's elegant and poised mother, appeared before he could say another word. Her dark robe flowed as she moved, worry written across her face. Damien, she whispered, I heard shouting outside. Then she saw Luca in Elena's arms. Her expression cracked. Oh, thank God, she breathed, stepping forward. Bring him here, Elena. Elena hesitated. She didn't want to let go, not after everything, but Luca was so tired, his head heavy against her shoulder. Serafina gently touched his forehead. He needs rest. And you need to breathe. Elena's voice trembled. I don't know if I can. You will, Serafina said softly. You're safe now. Her words were warm, gentle. Everything Elena needed and didn't know she needed. Damien stood a few steps away, watching the scene quietly. His shoulders were tense, his jaw locked, his eyes dark in a way that made him look like a man holding himself together by force alone. Serafina looked at him. You brought him back. Damien didn't speak. You kept your promise, she whispered. Still he didn't speak. Instead, he turned away abruptly, moving toward his office. Damien, Serafina called after him, you cannot carry this alone. He didn't stop. Didn't slow. Didn't look back. The door shut behind him with a soft but firm thud. Serafina sighed, pained. He always does this. Elena frowned. Does what? Shoulders the world. Serafina turned back to her. Come. He will need time before he faces what happened. Elena followed her through a long hallway to a warm, spacious suite. Serafina showed her the bed, the bathroom, the sitting area. Everything was soft, clean, comforting. But none of it felt real. Elena placed Luca gently onto the bed. He didn't move, just curled into the pillow with a small sigh. Serafina handed Elena a blanket and whispered, "Sleep. I'll have clothes and food brought." Elena nodded mutely. She crawled into bed beside her son, wrapped an arm around him, and held on with everything she had left. Only when Serafina turned off the lights and closed the door did Elena finally break. She cried in silence until sleep dragged her under. Damien didn't sleep. His office was dark except for the glow of a single lamp. He sat behind his desk, head down, fingers pressed against his temples. He wasn't a man who showed weakness. Not to his staff. Not to his enemies. Not to the world. But tonight. Tonight shook even him. Adrian's betrayal. Luca's fear. Elena's screams through the phone. He had heard many things in his life. He had caused many things. But that scream. That broke something inside him. A knock sounded on the door. "Enter." Marcus stepped inside. "Boss. Adrian is gone." Damien's jaw tightened. "Good. He left the country. Plane took off 10 minutes ago. He'll stay gone," Damien said coldly. "Fear is the best leash." Marcus nodded. "The Razov clan has retreated from the docks. They should. Do you want to pursue them?" Damien looked up slowly, his eyes dark with quiet wrath. "I want them to remember," he said, voice low, "that touching a child under my protection means burning their empire to ash." Marcus bowed his head. "Understood." He stepped out, leaving Damien alone again. The room felt too quiet. Too heavy. Too full of everything he couldn't admit. He leaned back in his chair, closed his eyes, and exhaled a slow, uneven breath. He had protected people before. He had saved lives before. He had taken lives before. But this was different. This wasn't just loyalty. Wasn't just duty. Wasn't just power. This was personal. When he finally left the office, dawn was starting to lighten the sky. He walked slowly toward the guest suite, unsure why he was going there, only that he needed to see them. Needed to see her. Needed to see the child breathing. Safe. Alive. He opened the door carefully. Elena was awake. Sitting on the edge of the bed. Hands in her hair. Face tired and swollen from crying. When she looked up and saw him, her eyes softened. Her breath hitched. And Damien felt something twist in his chest. She stood up. He entered the room fully, closing the door behind him. For a moment, they simply looked at each other. Then Elena crossed the room in 3 steps and pressed her forehead against his chest, fists gripping the front of his shirt. Damien froze. No one touched him like that. No one sought comfort from him. No one leaned on him. But Elena did. Slowly, awkwardly, he raised his arms and wrapped them around her. She shook silently, her breath warm against his shirt. "I thought I lost him," she whispered. "You didn't," Damien said softly. "You found him. I told you I would." He didn't say it with pride. He said it like a truth. Like a vow he would make again. Her fingers curled tighter into his shirt. "Why? Why did you go that far?" Damien's voice was quiet, almost fragile. "Because you matter." She leaned back slightly to look up at him. "And Luca," she whispered. He swallowed once. "He matters more than I expected." Emotion tightened her throat. She rested her head on his chest again, and Damien closed his eyes. For the first time in a long time, he felt something like peace. By midday, the estate was quiet. Elena found herself sitting in the garden behind the mansion, wrapped in a soft blanket that Serafina had given her. The sun was warm, the air smelled like roses, and everything seemed strangely calm. Luca played nearby on a patch of fresh grass, rolling a toy car one of the guards had given him. Every time he laughed, Elena felt tears sting her eyes. He was okay. He was alive. That alone was enough to make her chest ache. Serafina sat beside her, hands folded neatly in her lap. "You look exhausted," she said gently. "I am," Elena admitted. "You slept only a few hours." "I couldn't sleep more." Serafina nodded. "Mothers don't sleep until their children do." Elena smiled faintly. "Thank you, for everything. For helping him. For helping me. Serafina reached over and squeezed her hand. You're safe here. Truly. Elena looked toward the mansion. Where's Damien? In a meeting, Serafina said. He's handling the aftermath. Elena nodded slowly. Part of her wanted to run to him. Part of her wanted to demand answers. Part of her wanted to hide under a blanket and pretend none of this happened. But she stayed still. Luca drove his toy car in circles, humming to himself. Serafina sighed softly. He's fond of Luca. Elena swallowed. I noticed. And of you. Elena didn't respond. Serafina continued. My son is not an easy man. His world changes people. It makes them hard. Sharp. Lonely. Elena looked down at her hands. Has he always been like this? No, Serafina smiled sadly. He was once soft. Quiet. Gentle. But this world took that from him. Responsibility took that. Power took that. And you? Elena asked quietly. Do you want him to stay in this world? Serafina shook her head. I want him to be happy. I want him to have something real. Elena's throat tightened. Serafina turned to her. And I believe that something real might be standing right in front of me. Elena's breath hitched. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what any of this means. You don't need to know yet, Serafina said gently. Just stay. Let him protect you both. Let yourself rest. Elena looked away. I don't like being protected. No, Serafina smiled, but you like that your son is safe. A lump formed in Elena's throat. Serafina stood. I will have lunch prepared. Stay with Luca. Elena nodded. Serafina walked back inside. Luca looked up at her with big, innocent eyes. Mama, can we stay here forever? Elena froze. Her heart cracked. I don't know, baby. I like it here, Luca said. I like Damien. And the pancakes. Elena laughed weakly. I know. He crawled into her lap and rested his head against her chest. Damien saved me, he whispered. She hugged him tightly. Yes, he did. Later that afternoon, as the sun started to dip, Damien appeared in the garden doorway. He didn't announce himself. He didn't clear his throat. He just existed, standing there like a dark shape carved out of the light. Elena looked up and met his eyes. Damien walked toward her slowly. How is he? He asked quietly. Playing, she said. Okay. Damien nodded once. His gaze lingered on Luca, softening. Then he looked at Elena. You can't go home, he said. She blinked. What? Damien stepped closer. Your apartment isn't safe. They know where you live. They know who you are. And even with Adrian gone, there are still men out there who want leverage against me. Elena's stomach dropped. What are you saying? I'm saying I won't let you leave. Her breath caught. Damien. You'll stay here, he said. In my house. Under my protection. That's not a request, she whispered. No, he said softly. It's not. She looked down, overwhelmed. This is too much. Too fast. Too complicated. Damien exhaled slowly. I know. Do you? She snapped. I don't know anything about this world. I don't even know what you want from me. Damien stepped closer until their faces were inches apart. I want you safe, he said. I want him safe. That's it. His voice deepened. No. Silence pulsed between them. He leaned in slightly, not touching her, but close enough that she felt his warmth. Elena, he whispered, I'm not asking you to choose me. I'm asking you to stay alive. Her chest tightened. I don't want to live in fear. You won't, he said. Not here. You can't promise that. Damien tilted his head. I can. And I do. She swallowed. And if I say no? His jaw tightened, but his eyes softened. I won't force you, he said quietly. But I'll still protect you. Even from a distance. Her heart thumped painfully. I don't want distance, she whispered before she could stop herself. Damien's breath caught. His eyes darkened, not with anger, not with danger, but with something deeper. Something that made her pulse race. Then stay, he said softly. Stay with me. Stay where I can reach you before the world does. Her voice trembled. You scare me. I know. And yet you're still standing in front of me, he finished. She nodded weakly. I am. Damien stepped closer, close enough to touch but waiting for permission. Elena, he murmured, let me keep you safe. Her chest rose and fell in uneven breaths. Finally, slowly, she nodded. Okay, she whispered. We'll stay. Damien's eyes closed briefly, like he was holding back something heavy, powerful, dangerous. Good, he murmured. I'll take care of everything. Then he leaned down, brushing a soft kiss against her forehead. A promise. A warning. A beginning. And within the mansion of a dangerous man, with her son safe in the garden behind them, Elena realized. She had just stepped into Damien Vale's world. Not as a visitor, but as something he intended to keep. If you're hooked on this world of danger, obsession, and impossible love, hit that like button and subscribe before the next chapter drops, because things are only getting darker from here.